do say welcome into our Thursday edition of Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. 70 degrees outside as you make your way into work, into school, wherever you may be headed on this Thursday morning. We appreciate you for waking up with us. Another busy week of college football is on the horizon, and obviously, Alabama steps back into conference play this week as they take on the Florida Gators. Auburn is out of conference. They will take on Penn State. We all know that Alabama has the longest non-conference winning streak in the conference, 46 games. Obviously, that will not fall this weekend as they take on Florida. But, Drew, did you know that the Auburn Tigers right now have the third longest non-conference winning streak in the conference at 12 games? That is on the line this weekend when they travel to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. By the way, Alabama's streak is at 46 games right now. Georgia is second at 14 games. Auburn is third with 12, and Florida has a 10-game non-conference winning streak. So those are your non-conference win streaks in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn, just remember a couple of years ago, they got a big win in Dallas against Oregon, a big comeback win. So that was huge for the Tigers. They've also beaten Louisville in the recent past on a neutral field in Atlanta. So they've done their job as well representing the SEC. This is a huge opportunity to go on the road for Brian Harsin and his staff. And we're going to take an extensive look from both sides of the matchup today. We're going to connect with Nathan King, and then we're going to have a new guest, because I was wanting to, find someone that, that really kind of knew Penn State, and Cory Giger from the Altoona area in Pittsburgh is going to join us. He knows Penn State backwards and forwards, and we're going to kind of pick his brain to find out more about James Franklin's crew, because again, we are SEC oriented. We don't see as much of these Big Ten schools, and he can educate us on what happened last year, which was a disaster and a COVID year for Penn State, and how so far how they've looked in his mind to start 2-0.
We talk a lot about which Nick Saban former former coach will be the first to beat Nick Saban.
Yeah, that's what everybody's always talking about that.
But should we also be asking, and you look at Alabama's schedule over the next couple years, which non-conference opponent is going to be the one to end Alabama's 46-game non-conference winning streak? Because it's not going to happen this year.
Well, and this is in regular season play.
This is not bowl. This is not bowl games
or SEC championship games.
Or SEC. No, this is This is purely non-conference.
Right.
We talk about which former Nick Saban assistant will be the first to beat Nick Saban. If you look at Alabama's schedule over the next 5 years, which non-conference opponent is going to be the one to end Alabama's 46-game non-conference winning streak?
Great question. There'll be a lot of challenges, no doubt about it. It's a great streak. It's an unbelievable streak.
Texas?
Well, first of all, in short order, they're going to be a member of the conference and have their head in the toilet because they are soft as butter. And, Arkansas was picked by many, and that doesn't mean they're going to end up there, Scott.
Right.
7th in the West. And we saw what the hell they did to Texas, okay?
If Texas came in the conference right now,
they'd be the worst team in the West.
Worse than
Mississippi State and Arkansas. That's already – they're already touchdown.
They've already beat Arkansas.
I'm not. I wouldn't pick Mike. Them over Mike Leach. I'm sorry. They would be last.
So if you were voting, you would vote Mississippi State over Texas.
Yeah.
You just did the upside down horns.
Based on the scene.
All right. In all seriousness, Texas over Kentucky.
Yeah. What? No, of course not.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing.
Kentucky's a better football team than Texas. Mercy, they'd rush for 500 yards. I'm not sure they'd ever punt at this point. And what would Georgia do to them? They'd probably be on their fourth quarterback. Mercy.
Well, Georgia has a lot of questions, though. If Georgia was playing Texas this weekend.
Defense, it would be a bloodbath.
True.
Bijan Robinson might just opt out. Wouldn't want to put that on tape. Good heavens.
But what do we really know? I mean, okay, Georgia beat Clemson. Georgia looked good in that matchup against Clemson. They did, but Clemson's offense was rough.
DJ
Uiagalelei
has not played well early.
What do we really know, though, about Georgia's defense is going to be good, but what do we know about Georgia yet after 2 weeks?
It's still developing. It really is. But, I mean, the performance was so bad for Texas at Arkansas.
Right.
I mean, I'm anticipating a slobber-knocking late in the fourth quarter game that I'm going to want to tune into. Heck, man. By the time I got through watching some of the first half, it was no fun. You kind of knew what was going on. You knew it was still decently close, but Arkansas was winning that battle up front, and it got ugly by the third quarter. So it just wasn't. If you were a Texas fan, you were not enjoying that. I can tell you.
Does Arkansas's performance over Texas change your opinion, or does it change your outlook for Arkansas for the rest of the way?
Well, not exactly. I mean, because I thought Arkansas would be better. I just didn't know if they could finish above sixth, but still go to a bowl game. I wasn't anticipating them being bad. I thought they would be good. I really thought everybody in the West would be pretty good.
Right.
And so there wouldn't be any bad football teams. So there might be a couple that have mediocre years, but they would still be dangerous. I think the West is a lot stronger than the East.
Still, yeah. I agree there.
Mm-hmm.
But if Texas only goes on to win 6 games this year, and that you have that win against Texas, that doesn't make this Texas win a disappointment. If Arkansas goes on to only win 6 games,
right?
And that
you mean the Texas win for Arkansas?
Right. I'm saying if Arkansas goes on to only win 6 games, that doesn't take away from this Texas win, does it? That doesn't make this win a disappointment if you only go on to win 6 games.
No, I mean, but I'm really anxious to see if they can pull off the sweep, because next week they take on the Aggies, who have got quarterback issues now, and that game is taking on a whole different, kind of look. Now, A&M has always seemed to figure it out and find a way to beat Arkansas in a close game, but I'm fascinated. Right now, I would probably pick the Hogs based on what I've seen of who they've played, okay? Because I will give Texas one thing. I think they're better than Colorado. They better hope and pray they are, okay? I'm going to give Sark that. You're going to figure it out.
Texas A&M struggled against Colorado.
That's what I'm saying.
Texas A&M was –
and A&M's offensive line struggling really badly, and Arkansas has got a senior defense. Okay, this is a defense that's pretty good. Barry Odom's a quality coordinator. So and I believe the game is still in Jerry World, correct? It just about always is.
I believe it is. Yeah, I believe that's where they play that one pretty much, yeah.
I'm definitely leaning Hogs right now, as long as they stay healthy through the game this week.
All right, let's get out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Richard is holding for us on a Thursday. Good morning, Richard.
Morning, guys. Hey,
morning.
Drew, is Ben Davis playing at all for Texas? And I didn't get to watch much of the game. I watched Kentucky, Missouri. It was a better game. I didn't wonder how the former Bama guys are doing on Texas.
Well, I have not seen him. He didn't record a stat in the first game. I did not check, honestly, Richard, against Arkansas. But I don't think he's playing much at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because I watched a little bit, but like you said, it really wasn't much of a game. And the Missouri-Kentucky game was a lot better game, so I ended up watching that.
Yeah, it was. It was, and that's the game I was trying to follow as well because I tried to watch, and I watched the beginning of Arkansas and Texas, and it was a good game for the first half, but then into the third quarter, it just got away. And we were also doing our tailgate post game over here on 97.7, monitoring that game, and it just got away really quickly, and it was kind of brutal, and you just knew that Arkansas was going to win it and going to win it impressively. I think at one point they were up 33-7. So I mean, it was just one of those things where, wow, you're like, this game's over, and Texas doesn't have much of a shot. I'm checking it right now.
He hasn't recorded any stats in 2021 at all.
Nope, you're right. I mean, I checked the first game, and now you're right, Scott. I mean, he has not.
How's the running back doing? Is he? I mean,
Keelan had 40 yards the first game, and against against the Razorbacks, he had 6 carries for 9 yards.
Okay.
So he did not do anything running the football. I don't think he's recorded he has not recorded a catch yet. So he has not made a, big time impact at Texas as of yet.
And then my man Bullivus won again for Vanderbilt.
Man, now he had the right moment, man. I mean, as bad as they were the first week, and it was horrifically bad. They go on the road down 14-0 to Colorado State and come back and win 24-21, and he drills a field goal with about a minute to go. It was a really good moment.
Well, now Vanderbilt has Stanford this week at home.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
So now you have two. Texas could probably beat Vanderbilt and South Carolina.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, South Carolina's solid. I don't think we're going to find a whole lot out about South Carolina on Saturday when they travel to Georgia if they can compete. But yeah,
they struggled. South Carolina really struggled this past week on the road at East Carolina.
And Texas could play with Tennessee, considering Tennessee can't stop running water.
Well, the thing is, South Carolina probably can't score enough. And with Georgia's defense, they probably won't score at all. Actually.
Yeah.
You're not going to put many points on it because UAB's not a bad team at all.
No, I agreed.
Better than what Alabama and Auburn played last weekend by far, and and Georgia put it to them, out. So, they're a lot better team out there. So you're still thinking this? So you're still thinking everybody's playing something on Saturday?
Yes. You talking about as far as for Alabama?
Yeah.
I think Jalen Armour-Davis, Job, they're on the track, and then I've heard nothing to make me believe Will Anderson won't be in the lineup.
Yeah, because he walked off on Saturday, which always is a better thing. Then they let him walk to the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
Which means they didn't think it was overly serious, or he'd been on a cart or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he wasn't on any kind of. I haven't heard of any kind of crutches or even a boot or anything like that. So I think he's going to be fine.
Well, good. Hopefully, it won't get too much rain down there on Saturday.
Right.
After being hot, so. Yeah, I'm heading down tomorrow down there. I haven't been down since '91 with Danny Woodson as quarterback. So
whoa!
The swamp. So
35-0. I remember that one.
Yeah, that wasn't fun. So actually, I was with Kerry Clark, and we couldn't leave because we had Gator fans behind us harassing us, wanted to know when we were going to leave early. So we stayed for the whole game, so those guys couldn't mouth off at us. So.
Well, they've lost I think 7 in a row to Alabama, so the worm has turned.
It has really much more fun, but we will find out. If we can stop the quarterbacks from running, I think we got a good chance down there.
I agree. Good, safe travels, Richard.
Yep. Talk to you guys later.
Enjoy Gainesville, Richard. 256-576-4977. That is the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. You can get in on the conversation this morning, and just throwing a bunch of things out there. First non-conference opponent you think in the next 5 years that would end Alabama's 46-game non-conference winning streak. And if you slotted Texas in the SEC right now after week 2, where would you put the Longhorns in all of the SEC, not just West or East? We're just kind of throwing all that around there this morning. Some other notes, Alabama and Florida, Drew, this will be the 42nd time that the two will have met. And if you're Auburn and Penn State, this is the first ever non-conference matchup between the two. The two have met in bowl games, but have never met in a non-conference game. So those are just some numbers there as we get ready for this busy weekend of college football. Yesterday, Nick Saban met the media, Drew, and before we hear from him, he did give that Will Anderson update.
Yes.
So that is good news there, possibly for Will Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've heard he's been back out at practice. He didn't have any kind of limp by Monday, slight limp on Sunday. People have even asked me about a brace. Haven't heard about one. We'll see. But I think, he was very fortunate in what happened, to come out the way he did. I don't think he's going to be limited, Scott. I think I'm sure they've done some rehab. They're going to do, dot the I's, cross the T's, and make sure he's okay. But I think he's once they gave him the day off Monday and he was back out at practice Tuesday, then I don't think there's any question that I thought he was going to play, barring a setback. You never know how that's going to go down, but I don't think he's had any. And looking forward to Will Anderson playing and wrecking some havoc on Saturday.
Well, the bad news is for Florida, Ventrell Miller is out.
Wow, now that is a big loss, Scott.
Yeah, he's out indefinitely. He had surgery this week to repair a torn bicep tendon.
Oof. And see, we hadn't talked about that all week because he's really their best linebacker. That is a really big loss for the Gators.
What does that mean for their defense? Obviously,
Jeremiah Moon will still be there, and he's been there 6,000 years. I can remember when he was recruited out of Hoover. I guess I'm guessing this is either 6 or 7. I don't know. I just know this has got to be a COVID year. It'll be even more important for him to play well. He's a very versatile, long guy. But again, losing Ventrell Miller, he was on a lot of all-SEC lists, and he had a really good year last year. So that's damaging for Florida, no doubt about it.
Yeah, he had 7 tackles in their season opener against Florida Atlantic, and he exited last week after only playing 7 snaps. So he did not get to play much. He had a team-best 88 tackles in 2020, 3.5 sacks, and 7.5 tackles for loss last year, did Miller. So that is a big loss for Florida on Saturday.
No question about it.
I tell you what, 7:20, let's get our break in, because when we come back, we need to bring in our first guest of the morning as we continue to break a little SEC football talk.
Brooks Austin is going to tell us about Georgia. What's the outlook for, of course, the quarterback situation? Are we going to see Stetson Bennett again? When might we see JT Daniels back behind center?
I don't think we need to see him for a couple of weeks.
And then this Georgia defense, the real deal, looks like the best in America. And Brooks Austin's a film guy. He loves to break it down, and he's going to join us next to talk about the Dogs hosting the Gamecocks.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Bob Baumhauer and 97.7 ESPN The Zone have teamed up to bring you a huge opportunity this fall. Each week, come on down to Baumhauer's during the drive on Thursdays between 5 and 7 and register to win a Lunch Bunch gift certificate for 6 to Baumhauer's. But wait, there's more. Each weekly winner will then be placed into a drawing for Bob's tickets to the LSU-Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, complete with an invitation to Bob's exclusive pregame party at Baumhauer's tent on the Quad. Stay tuned to 97.7 ESPN The Zone for other opportunities to sign up and win Bob's tickets.
If you need a car, McCurry Motors is ready to put you in a quality vehicle, and in-house financing is available. If you have a job, McCurry Motors will work with you even if you have a bankruptcy, divorce, or bad credit. Visit McCurrySaysYes.com. Every car comes with a warranty, and they report to the credit bureau. With 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens, call 256-230-0232, or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville. Call 256-713-0575.
Brooks & Collier has always been about making the most of your outdoors. Our lush greenhouse and new furniture ideas will inspire you, but we're also about value. Our brands are so handsome, they'll make themselves comfortable inside or out, and so well made, they'll weather the weather for many years to come. Our staff can consult you on the right choices, and Lucy for sure can show us the sofa that's the most comfortable. Make the most of your outdoors. Meridian Street and at brooksandcollier.com.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey Wes, our company Fleming Roofing and Restoration specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a 5th generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
Well, you guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10 plus years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440.
Hey, Wes, we show up.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Drinking coffee straight from the pot, power move. Wearing a bathrobe to work, power move. Switching to super fast, extra reliable internet from WOW, power move. Switch and save with WOW Internet for just $19.99 a month. It's switching season, so make a move with our end of summer flash sale. This month only, get Internet 100 with no contracts for just $19.99 a month. Plus, get a 2-year price lock and the first month free. Make the switch at wowway.com today.
Wow.
Limited to new customers with autopay and paperless billing. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. From today's headlines to the guests you want to hear from.
Who wants to party?
Listen in and join in. Weekday afternoons starting at 5. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, 7:25 on this Thursday morning. Welcome back to Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. If you look around the SEC slate this week, there are several conference matchups. We've talked a lot about Alabama, Florida. You do have South Carolina and Georgia. There's just 2 of them, I should say, this weekend. You got Alabama, Florida, and South Carolina, Georgia. Georgia playing host to the Gamecocks. Both teams, Drew, come in 2-0, but both teams, I think, have different feelings about themselves at 2-0. South Carolina, lucky to be 2-0. Georgia...
Well, South Carolina's ecstatic to be 2-0, okay? I mean, we understand that they're in a rebuild. Georgia's expected to be 2-0, and they are. And they totally dominated UAB, which I think is a good football team. Might even beat South Carolina. I'm not trying to take a shot there at Coach Beamer, but I think they're in a rebuild, and I think it would be a good game. South Carolina would probably win that game, but again, I think this has a chance to be a mismatch. We'll see, though, but certainly Georgia made a huge statement, and still without their entire football team, as their depth was put on display in that 56-7 win over Bill Clark's UAB Blazers, who may be the favorite still in Conference USA. But our next guest is with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. It's been a while since we spoke with him. He does a great job, though, for Sports Illustrated. And he works closely with our great friend John Garcia, does a great job in recruiting, but also is the lead editor for Dogs Daily SI on SI.com. And again, he does a great job. Patreon.com, Brooks Austin, and he's, of course, the film guy. He grinds the tape, and I love guys like this because they can break it down from a strategic standpoint, tell you what's going on, and he's now with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brooks, you're with Drew and Scott in Huntsville, Alabama. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. Long time no talk. I know this is a very John Garcia friendly network. You guys can feel free to call me anytime you want to talk some dogs now. Don't forget.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting you back in the rotation, brother. No doubt about it. Now that football season is back in here. Ready to go.
There's a lot to talk about, though, when we have to unpack Georgia. A lot has happened since we last talked to you, and a lot has happened in just 2 games.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's been an interesting start to the season. I thought Georgia did something in the last 2 weeks that I still think going into the season were 2 question marks for Kirby Smart, right? Can you win a big football game against an opponent that's either more talented than you or equally as talented as you? He did that week 1 against Clemson, got a W there in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then another question I think that's kind of hovered over this program is, can you handle business against opponents that you should dominate? Okay, when you go into a football game being heavily favored, can you go in there and play, as Kirby Smart says, to your standard? In 2017, they had a slip-up against Auburn, didn't play to their standard, got beat by 33 on the road. In 2018, they didn't play to their standard out in Baton Rouge, lost by 20 to an LSU football team that they were probably better than on paper. And in 2019, South Carolina got them. And then last year, they were favored pretty heavily in that Florida game, and they slipped up in that one, too, and it cost them a potential trip to an SEC championship game and maybe a college football playoff. The rest of this season, this week included, matches up to me as Kirby Smart and his program's way of proving, hey, we can handle our business. When we're favored 31 points at home against South Carolina, by God, we're going to beat the brake drums off of them like we're supposed to. That is what the rest of this year's schedule sets up like for Kirby Smart in this program.
And we're talking to Brooks Austin of Sports Illustrated, as we said, Dogs Daily editor. Does a great job there. I'm sure that's been the mantra all week. They remember what happened in 2019 at home, losing to South Carolina. So they want to have their minds right and be ready. I know you just put up a piece as well about the quarterback situation. Update us, as you said, the headline being that the quarterback room is still banged up. I mean, certainly, Stetson Bennett played well, 10 of 12. He really couldn't have played any better than he did against UAB. But where does the quarterback room stand right now going into this contest?
Well, Stetson played great, but Todd Monken called an even better game, in my opinion, when I watched it on tape. Those guys they were running wide open the whole entire first quarter. But
right.
In terms of where the quarterback room stands right now, I think we got more out of Kirby Smart Monday about the quarterback situation than I've ever heard him really reveal. The fact that he even revealed that Stetson Bennett's dealing with a back issue tells me, A, it's a little minor, and B, that he's actually willing to give up information like that. James Cook told the media yesterday he didn't even know Stetson had a back issue. So that goes to show just how minor the injury is there. As far as JT Daniels goes, and this is just kind of my opinion about dealing with oblique injuries, I wouldn't deal with that at all if it's like 95%, 98%, 100%, and hasn't been 100% for several days with no minor setbacks at all. I don't see the need to play him this week. You've got another warm-up game next week against Vanderbilt before you go and host Arkansas at home. When it comes to oblique injuries, guys, and baseball players face this a lot, one minor setback with that injury, and you're basically back to square one. Okay, it hurts as bad as it did the day you messed it up. So this isn't like rehabbing from a tweaked hamstring or a tweaked groin. This is totally different when we're talking about an oblique injury. So if it were me, I would just say, hey, look, JT, I know you're biting to get into this football game, but we don't really need you today. We could line up and run the wild dog with James Cook 40 times today, and we're probably expected to beat South Carolina. So let's get you nice and 110% healthy before we have any types of setbacks. But they've been rotating all week in practice with the ones, that being JT Daniels and Stetson Bennett. So from everything we've heard, they're rotating evenly. Do I believe that? Probably not. At this point today, they will decide a starter, and that starter will take majority of the rest.
You would have to imagine, though, I know they can get by without JT Daniels beating South Carolina. They can get by without him beating Vanderbilt. But at some point, though, you would think in the back of their mind they do want to get him some game reps because they, under JT Daniels with a starting quarterback, haven't scored an offensive touchdown this season.
That 100% true there, no doubt. But you played one of the nation's best defenses. Yes. And I'm under the impression that JT was kind of dealing with this injury predating Clemson.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, yeah. Kirby said it got flared up on that first hit of the game. And if you guys recall, they ran play-action heavy boot with Daniels, and Trenton Simpson got Daniels right in the midsection. I mean, smacked him on the very first play of the game. And I think, him especially going down to the ground hard might have flared that injury up to start the football game. And at that point, they're just trying to survive. They're trying to lean on their defense, play clock control football, field position football, and get out of there with as minimal of a victory as they possibly could. After that, it was nothing but check downs, hooks, slants, bubbles, stuff like that the rest of the game. So I didn't really see him drive the ball down the field, and that probably could have been part of the reason why. But you're starting to see him in warm-ups now, and from all indications out of practice, he's starting to be able to drive the ball back down the field, and that's what this offense is predicated upon. We saw that to open against UAB. That's what Monken wants to do. That's who he is.
And Brooks, well, from a wide receiver tight end perspective, there's been a lot of guys banged up for Georgia. There was against Clemson. They're starting to get guys back, though. Might we see some pieces back in the lineup in this game and Vanderbilt before they face Arkansas? What's the injury status and update in the tight end room and also wide receivers?
Yeah, so the two wide receivers you're really waiting on at this point are Dominic Blaylock and Karis Jackson. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dominic Blaylock this week. Karis Jackson's been doing some punt return stuff and just hasn't been able to crack the lineup or get back into the lineup as a receiver. Both of those guys deal with knee injuries, obviously. Dominic Blaylock tore his ACL for the second time last fall camp. And they've really kind of handled that one with pretty cautionary gloves, as you would imagine. They kind of got him back really quickly after he tore it in the 2019 SEC championship game. He was ready for fall camp a year ago, and then as soon as he got back out there, almost it seems like it popped again. So they're being really, really cautious with him, and he's being really cautious as well, as you guys probably could imagine, 2 knee injuries on the same knee. As far as Karis Jackson goes, he had a minor cleanup surgery late into the summer to fix some issues going on in his knee. And like I said, he's been doing punt return stuff. I don't really necessarily expect him to play all that much this week. If he gets in the lineup, it's for a matter of getting him confidence, getting him some game reps. As far as the tight end room goes, I don't expect Darnell Washington either this week. I know he's out of the boot, but you guys know as well as I do, just being out of the boot does not mean you are ready to play a football game, especially an SEC football game. So if he's at practice this week, if he is going through the motions, getting some reps, it's at this point about getting him reconditioned because he's been out of real life football for 3 weeks now, almost 4 weeks. So football and lower body injuries are something that take longer to rehab from than just a shoulder injury or something like that. Because when you injure a shoulder, I gotta wait for the shoulder to rehab, and then you're back in because I can still run you and keep you conditioned. You hurt your foot, well, I gotta wait until the foot heals and wait until you're conditioned enough to play football again.
It is the first conference home game for Georgia in well over a year that'll have fans in attendance. Is it a big recruiting weekend for Georgia since they actually have fans in the stands this year?
Good Lord. I think we put a list out on Patreon yesterday with north of 25 guys, and those are just like the big names that people would know. It's a night game, 7 p.m. kick inside Sanford Stadium. The lights, the LEDs, the star-studded field of recruits. Yeah, it is 100% a massive recruiting weekend for Georgia. And they don't have a lot of these this year, guys. That home slate is not all that appealing to national, powerhouse-type recruits. We're talking games like South Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas. I think you get Missouri at home. Okay, these aren't like Alabama coming to town or Notre Dame coming to town. It's not like that this year. So, yeah, they're this first one up, and hopefully they have a very good impression if you're a Georgia fan on these kids.
Yeah, and Arch Manning is one of them as well, correct?
He is. Yes, sir. The famous name, the one everybody wants to see and everybody wants to run down. If you're asking me anything about Arch Manning, I ain't got it. That is the quietest. That is the quietest recruitment I've ever seen. It is absolutely absurd. I can find one interview that Arch Manning himself has done, and it was with some YouTube guy out in Louisiana that just happened to run up on him in the middle of practice. It's absolutely absurd. They're handling that one with high levels of security, like the FBI follows around and keeps that one quiet. It's insane.
No question about it. And we're talking to Brooks Austin, Dogs Daily, Sports Illustrated. What are your impressions of this matchup with South Carolina? It looks like a mismatch on paper. I know they came back to beat a decent East Carolina team on the road, 20-17, but this looks to still be a heavy rebuild. They've basically got a graduate assistant at quarterback Luke Doty got hurt early in training camp, and so Zeb Noland from North Dakota State has been the quarterback. Georgia's defense has been the real deal, been suffocating so far. Your thoughts on the matchup?
My thoughts are I don't know if South Carolina gets past midfield. And that's not me. That's not me just being the hot take guy. That's me being honest. I do not see South Carolina moving the ball at all on Saturday. This defense is so entirely suffocating. It's incredible just how fast they are, how deep they are, how impressive that front four looks on a consistent down in and down out basis. It's going to be really, really hard for me to sit here and think, oh, well, yeah, South Carolina can put up 14 points. I don't even see that. I was telling somebody the other day, if Georgia gets to mid-October without giving up a defensive score, I wouldn't be surprised, guys. I mean, it's this good. This is a historic level defense for Georgia. And then offensively, I mean, they're going to do enough to control this football game, I would imagine. Last year, they ran all over South Carolina. And I know this is a different coaching staff, it's a different defensive staff, but it's pretty much the same Jimmies and the Joes. And the Jimmies and the Joes couldn't handle that front four or that front seven from Georgia last year offensively. And I think you're going to see a very similar type of game plan this week. I think you're going to see Georgia kind of assert their dominance early in this football game, and then that defense is just going to be wreaking havoc for 4 quarters.
Wow. So what we're learning now about Georgia is it really doesn't get bumpy for them until 3 weeks from now, until they leave the Vanderbilt game.
I mean, in my opinion, Georgia's going to be, next week against Vanderbilt, you thought they're a 31-point favorite right now against South Carolina. There's no telling what that line against Vanderbilt's going to be. I mean, that might be a 35-point game according to Vegas. It's going to get crazy. And then the next week they play Arkansas, right?
Right.
Arkansas, a good football team. They're going to be favored 2 scores, at least 14 points maybe in that football game. And then the biggest game on the schedule, in my opinion, the toughest matchup, a team that can match them physicality-wise and actually come in with a chip on their shoulder and maybe control the clock a little bit, is a program like Kentucky. Look, Kentucky's no joke this year. I think that's the toughest game on the schedule, Florida included.
Wow.
I don't see that. It sounds like a hot take. Don't listen to it that way. Kentucky is a football program and a football team right now that on paper and stylistically matches up with being able to sit there in a boxing ring and exchange blows with a program like Georgia right now. Florida is going to struggle to match the level of physicality on the front line, on the line of scrimmage in that football game come October. I promise you, they're going to. We'll find out a lot about Florida this weekend. But when I look at the schedule, that Kentucky game is the one that I look at and be like, yeah, that might be a one-score game late in the fourth quarter. And
Brooks, I'm taking by what you're saying, you think that Florida may be in for a long afternoon against Alabama.
Absolutely. I mean, Emory Jones is assumingly going to be their starting quarterback as Anthony Richardson's dealing with a hamstring injury. Emory Jones has thrown 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 63% completion percentage against Florida Atlantic and USF. Dude, if you're turning the ball over against those programs, this Alabama defense is going to cause some major issues for you offensively, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think that's a long day in Gainesville.
No question. And, of course, it'll be the October the 16th, I believe, when the Georgia Bulldogs host the Kentucky Wildcats. In the interim, they will also have a trip to Auburn, so those will be interesting to watch going forward. But Georgia looks like, as you said, the schedule sets up very well for them. This game is looking like a mismatch on paper. This coming up on Saturday afternoon inside of, on Saturday night, as you said, under the lights at Sanford Stadium. But I wanted to ask you though a little bit about we talked about Darnell Washington being out, but that has opened the door for the young freshman tight end who, as you have written this week, is off to an outstanding start.
Yeah, Brock Bowers from Napa Valley, California. Guys, that's wine country.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have ever. Brock Bowers is the best football player ever to come out of Napa Valley. He might be the only one. honestly. Like, that is not football capital of the world out there. That is wine capital. But guys, he's so impressive physically. Like, and we heard about this with him coming out of high school. I mean, just the raw data on the kid. He's 6'4", 230, probably 235 pounds at this point. He's a legitimate, verified 4.5 runner, and he's got north of a 40-inch vertical as a freshman. This kid statistically and physically is as impressive as a weapon as Georgia's had in a long, long time at the tight end position. And the best thing about his game, in my opinion, is that it matches and pairs perfectly with Darnell Washington. Okay, Darnell's a different type of athlete where if you've seen over the last couple of weeks, Georgia is designing plays up to get Brock Bowers the ball in space and allow him to work after the catch. Whereas Darnell's going to be more of a guy where we'll put him on the end of the line of scrimmage, he'll dominate and help us dominate in the run game, and then we're going to attack vertically with him, right? If you see a lot of Darnell's catches, there are a lot of back shoulder fades, a lot of vertical seam routes from the end of the line of scrimmage, things like that, deep crossers, things like that. Well, Brock Bowers is different. He's a completely different athlete. Last week he was clocked at almost 22 miles per hour on that touchdown run that he had. Guys, those are like bordering on like Olympic-type top-end speeds in football pads. He is a different breed of an athlete.
It certainly seems that way, and heard a lot of great things about him coming out of training camp, and we'll be watching him on Saturday. Well, Brooks, great stuff, man. Welcome back into the rotation. We appreciate your time and your work. Let everybody know how they can connect with you at Dogs Daily SI, man. And I know you do a great job also breaking down recruiting, which is a big part of our show.
Yes, sir. So you can just search dogsdaily.com. That's dogs spelled like the Georgia folks do, DAWGS, daily.com. And you can check me out on Twitter at Brooks Austin SI. I do a pretty good job of streamlining the content over there. So anything I do will definitely end up on Twitter. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Brooks. Let's get our break in. When we come back, going to wrap up hour number 1.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Bob Baumhauer and 97.7 ESPN The Zone have teamed up to bring you a huge opportunity this fall. Each week, come on down to Baumhauer's during the drive on Thursdays between 5 and 7 and register to win a Lunch Bunch gift certificate for 6 to Baumhauer's. But wait, there's more. Each weekly winner will then be placed into a drawing for Bob's tickets to the LSU-Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, complete with an invitation to Bob's exclusive pregame party at Baumhauer's tent on the quad. Stay tuned to 97.7 ESPN The Zone for other opportunities to sign up and win Bob's tickets.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner of University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. And a quick shout out to my son, Avery Seaton, number 19. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including our all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and the sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in the Kia. Go Mustangs!
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com.
Jesus tells us to go the second mile. Well, sometimes it's hard enough to go the first mile. But when the Lord is number one in our lives, we not only go the first mile, but we embrace the second mile. We can talk all we want about Jesus and how important he is to us, but we show it in the second mile. And the second mile the world is changed. In the second mile, the difference is made. In the second mile, the lost world sees Christ in us. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church. We're smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. And check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
With the help of Cheerios Oat Crunch Almond, I get everyone's morning started with a smile. It has a delicious and hearty combination of the Cheerios you love, whole grain oats, and sliced almonds for an extra crunchy crunch. That's how I set the rhythm for a great day. Look for Cheerios Oat Crunch Almond in your local grocery store.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Hi, 7:50 on a Thursday morning. Welcome back to Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, and we didn't get a chance to ask Brooks Austin this, but there's really nothing that he could have added because there's really nothing to say. Mm-hmm. Kirby did give an update on Eric Gilbert yesterday, and basically just said he's not back with us yet, and we don't know when he'll be back.
Who knows if he ever will be? I mean, he's had issues since he came out of high school. He had issues at LSU. He's now had issues at Georgia. I mean, good luck with that. And that's all I'll say. I mean, Alabama's had their own issues with Jaleel Billingsley, who's still working his way back, and we'll see if he's a bigger part of the offense against Florida in the swamp on Saturday.
Right.
But, yes, I mean, so far, Eric Gilbert, a lot more hype than substance, and hopefully he's, getting his mind right where he needs to be. But yeah, he's. He's. To be honest with you, though, with what Bowers is doing, the young freshman for Georgia, they don't need the kid. I mean, he had an impact in some ways at LSU, but the longer you stay out of it, there's other 5 stars that come along. So we'll see if this kid can ever, get back out on the field and become super productive. But, man, it's just been a rough start to his collegiate career.
All right, The Athletic did a poll, and they surveyed 100 individuals in college football. ADs, head coaches, assistant coaches, recruiting coordinators, analysts, staffers, to get their take on who has the best job in college football or what the best job is in college football. Alabama picked up 406 points, number one, followed by Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, LSU, USC number 6, Clemson 7, Oklahoma 8. They put Notre Dame 9, Florida 10, Michigan 11, Texas A&M 12, and you go on and on. They have Penn State at number 16. Northwestern got like one vote, so they got in there at number 18. North Carolina 17. But it was the comments that were interesting to read. And one staffer wrote, or a coach or somebody anonymous wrote, Alabama won't be the best after Nick. All of these jobs have a combination of commitment to player development facilities, minimal meddling on a day-to-day, and commitment to hiring and retaining excellent people that surround the program, without the politics and unrealistic expectations that some SEC schools have when it comes to keeping up with Bama, A&M, etc. Goes on to say, I feel like Alabama is the best job, but once Nick leaves, they will go back to the same meddling political stuff that they've dealt with prior to him getting there. I think for a head coach, you have to factor in your ability to freely do what you think is best, and I don't see that at the SEC schools except Bama and A&M with Jimbo. Without Jimbo, same A&M.
Well, we'll see. What a profound statement. They're going to slip when Nick Saban retires. I mean, who else could say it? I mean, everybody could say that. He's going to be nearly impossible to replace. But I do think Alabama's infrastructure is better than it has been with the leadership of Stuart Bell, with the leadership of Greg Byrne in the athletic department. Certainly I don't expect them to win 6 national championships in 12 years under whoever replaces Nick Saban. But I would just say not so fast saying Alabama's not going to be the best program in the country, because they have
to say that they're going to go back to being the meddling stuff and everything before.
If he thinks it's going to be as bad as it was after Coach Bryant, we'll see. I don't think so, because I think Alabama's mindset has changed. I think they have, again, a school president that gets it, an athletic director that gets it. That's more wishful thinking. Oh, please, when Nick Saban leaves, they're going to slip. Well, you might still be getting your ass beat. That's all I'm going to say. So you can flap your trap. He probably works at somewhere that hadn't beat Alabama in 15 years, but whatever. I mean, it's real easy to go off the record and say something like that. Oh, wow, what a profound statement. Shut up and go get your butt whooped. You're probably not any good anyway. Probably work for Kirby.
256-576.
And you're just praying.
We're
finally going to do it. We're finally going to do it. We can finally get rid of the VHS tapes. Finally. We'll see.
Well, if you listen to Brooks Austin a few
I
minutes
respect
ago,
Brooks.
I mean,
I didn't think he said anything.
No, he didn't.
It was not true.
I think it's interesting, though, that he feels right now, and I mean, this could change in 2 weeks, that Kentucky is Georgia's biggest threat as lining up muscle-to-muscle, physicality-wise.
We'll find out when we see
over
Auburn
Florida. Now, he didn't say
coming
best.
Up in a few days.
He didn't say that Florida's not going to be the biggest challenge for Georgia. He just said physically Kentucky is going to be better and tougher than what Florida will be.
And I think Kentucky has looked good so far. We'll see. I mean, but I will say we're going to know a lot more about Auburn. If Auburn wins at Penn State, all of a sudden that trip to Auburn in a few weeks takes on a whole different meaning.
That's right, because remember, that game is a whole lot earlier this year.
And it's at Auburn. And they've had, and Kirby has had trouble at Auburn, so we'll see. I mean,
Mark Richt had trouble. It seems like Georgia has problems at Auburn. Period.
Well, I mean, Auburn is one of the toughest road environments to have to navigate. There's no question about it.
Georgia, the third best college football job in America, according to the staffers and coaches and everybody else that did this in the Athletic, in case you're wondering.
Well, I guess they are right now, but they hadn't won anything in a long time. But we'll see if they can finally break the 40-year drought.
It's all about that national championship for Georgia.
If
they don't get it this year, I mean, This seems
well. And if they do win one, they might as well not even play the next year because my goodness, you're talking about a hangover. I mean, or they'll probably think they're never going to lose another game.
It seems like in professional sports, we talk about teams putting everything in the table. The Cubs, whoever they load up on free agents, they sign everybody. This is the year they're going all in. They're going all in or bust. It seems like this year with Georgia getting JT Daniels out of the transfer portal and everything in there, it seems like the talk this year, and I know it's not the case, and I know Kirby Smart has great recruiting classes, and they're not going anywhere, but it seems like this year everybody is putting all the chips in on Georgia to win the national championship this year. It's like this year or bust for Georgia.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think a lot of people are because of the JT Daniels situation, but now he's injured, but now he needs to get healthy. But then they're in their defense and who they're going to lose defensively to the NFL, and they'll still be very talented and have to retool.
No, they will be.
Yeah, but they're I would say that's correct. They're going all in with Georgia.
All right, because Vegas has them now. A lot of money in Vegas has been put on the Georgia Bulldogs to win the national championship this year. Most of the money is on Georgia. Hour 1 is about to be done. Hour 2 is going to kick off here in just a little bit. We're going to continue our college football talk because Auburn and Penn State going to light it up white out under the lights. A lot of Penn State fans are saying, hey, we got the raucous environment. Auburn, you're going to be intimidated and scared come Saturday.
Well, Nathan King, Auburn 24/7, next to discuss the Auburn Tigers road trip. First time ever to Penn State.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. The electrical panel is the heart of your home's electrical system. Malfunctions can lead to hazards like fire or power outages, leaving your home at risk or in the dark altogether. Fixing it quickly will help keep you and your family safe. So trust our team of electrical experts at Mr. Sparky to get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated. Licensed in the respective state or county.
Bob Baumhauer and 97.7 ESPN The Zone have teamed up to bring you a huge opportunity this fall. Each week, come on down to Baumhauer's during the drive on Thursdays between 5 and 7 and register to win a Lunch Bunch gift certificate for 6 to Baumhauer's. But wait, there's more. Each weekly winner will then be placed into a drawing for Bob's tickets to the LSU-Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, complete with an invitation to Bob's exclusive pregame party at Baumhauer's tent on the quad. Stay tuned to 97.7 ESPN The Zone for other opportunities to sign up and win Bob's tickets.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. A couple of scattered showers are going to be possible across all of North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Temperatures only climbing into the upper 70s and lower 80s, dropping into the mid-upper 60s as we head into the overnight. Friday is essentially going to be a rinse and repeat process. A mostly cloudy sky, a little bit of sunshine, temperatures hanging out in the upper 70s and lower 80s with some scattered showers. Honestly, this trend's going to continue into the weekend as well. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Simple Green is perfect for making your auto, RV, cycling, boating, and other sporting equipment look like new. Visit them at simplegreen.com.
College football Thursday night, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns hosting the Ohio Bobcats. Louisiana favored by 20.5 points, the over-under 54.5. The Fortinet Championship underway today from Napa, California. John Rahm, the heavy favorite, at plus 355. Webb Simpson at plus 1,700. Hideki Matsuyama at plus 2,000. Kevin Na plus 2,100. And Will Zalatoris at plus 2,400. NFL Thursday night, an NFC East matchup between the Giants and the Washington football team. Saquon Barkley questionable for the Giants. Taylor Heineke expected to start for Washington, who is a 3.5-point favorite at home, 40.5 the over-under.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977.
Welcome back to Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you for another hour or so. We appreciate everybody for waking up with us. It is 71 degrees here in the Tennessee Valley. And one of the biggest there's three matchups this weekend that pit top 25 teams against each other. Actually, there's four. Or three, my bad. There's three in the country that pit top 25 teams against each other. We've talked a lot about number 1, Alabama, and number 11, Florida. The other one is 23rd ranked BYU and Arizona State, 19th and 23. But the one that pays attention here, the one that moves the needle, 10th ranked Penn State hosting 22nd ranked Auburn. The first ever non-conference meeting between the two teams. They've met in bowl games. It is Auburn's first trip to Happy Valley. And all Penn State fans are clamoring that Auburn has never seen a crowd like they're going to see on Saturday and have heard noise like they are going to hear on Saturday.
Well, I mean, I would slightly disagree with that. I think certainly the environments in the SEC are every bit as intimidating as what they're what Auburn's going to see in the whiteout at Penn State. I think it's really a neat road trip, neat to see. Alabama's been there many times. It's great that Auburn is going to be there now, and this is a huge test for Brian Harsin in his first season at Auburn, and they did what they had to do. I mean, they certainly were tremendous in their first two games, averaging over 60 points per game. We expected that. They've been really good on defense. Offensively, they've showed a renewed, commitment to physicality. It's more of a pro-style attack. Bo Nix has been good. Anxious to see, though, how he does against what's going to be easily the best defense they've seen, the best football team. And if they can get this win, like we said, it completely changes the complexion of where they're going. But one of our favorite guys is back with us today on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline this morning. We appreciate him getting up with us. He's the Auburn beat writer for 24/7 Sports. Previously, he had been with Rivals and had done an outstanding job now with 24/7 and Auburn Undercover, and that's Nathan King, and he's now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Nathan, you're with Drew and Scott in Huntsville. I know you're looking forward to this road trip. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We are really well, doing really well. I guess, what has been the biggest thing that's impressed you about this Auburn team and the two wins, the very impressive wins over Alabama State and Akron?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the offense, and I think that, while it is kind of a foregone conclusion that they would put up a good bit of points and certainly win those first two games, I didn't really expect the execution to go over as well, particularly in that first game. Now, you talk about the first half against Alabama State. They scored only one offensive touchdown in that first half against an FCS defense. Obviously, that's not really what you're looking for. But, I mean, when you look at a team like this that's breaking in a new system on offense and you say, okay, you're playing your first two games against some pretty lowly opposition, you're going to go ahead and expect to take some lumps for a quarter or two. I mean, that'd be pretty ridiculous if a team like that didn't. They just kind of cruised all the way through, but still, I was impressed with what they were able to do and how Bo Nix looks a little bit more comfortable in this offense, and really on both sides of the ball, how these guys have kind of already bought into these systems and look really, really comfortable. Certainly on defense, the cupboard is not bare. It was not left bare by Kevin Steele. This is a really talented defense that already is doing a lot of good things under Derek Mason, and so this weekend we get to figure out what it all means and finally get an actual litmus test that means something for Auburn, because it's great. It's something, like you said, there's something to be said for handling your business. Not everybody always handles their business against bad teams. Hello to Florida State. But, I mean,
you really don't know what your team actually looks like until you play in a big game like this. So I'm excited to see what this Auburn team's really made of.
Yeah, Nathan, and that's the thing too. When you're playing the likes of Akron and Alabama State, you can work on the efficiency. You can work on things. Auburn hasn't had to open up the playbook. They haven't had to go too deep into what we want to or what we even know about Brian Harsin and Mike Bobo's offense yet. I'm sure we'll see more of it, obviously, against Penn State because this is going to be a challenge. But Auburn hasn't had to open up a lot of things.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Everything's been pretty vanilla, particularly against Akron. Really, that was them just kind of running their base stuff. They did add in a few little wrinkles against Alabama State. I'm not even sure if those are a part of the primary playbook. I think that maybe Mike Bobo and Brian Harsin just wanted to show some stuff to Penn State and make them think about it and not even necessarily have to come back to it this week. Design quarterback runs. There was a reverse to Demetrius Robertson that went for a touchdown, kind of some counter action, which is not something we see very often, running some counter blocking for Tank Bigsby. So, we'll see if those are actually parts of the offense or if they just wanted to, if you make Penn State take 10 minutes out of their week to focus on a certain alignment and work on it with their defense in practice, then you've done something right. You're trying to gain whatever advantage you can. So, yeah, certainly not only in this game, but moving forward for the rest of the season, I'm excited to see what this offense really looks like, and once they start going against some high-level competition, because certainly, this Penn State team, they're in the top 10, but this is not the last good team, not the last good defense Auburn is going to face this season, not by a long shot.
Mm-hmm. And going into the season, it looked as though we knew Tank Bigsby and he's been the real deal so far. I voted him first team All-SEC, best running back in the league, and so he's done what was expected. Averaged over 10 yards per carry. But Sean Shivers was thought to be the complement. But Jarquez Hunter has been unbelievable in the first two games. Has he been a big surprise?
Yeah, and so what happened with Sean, I think in that first game, they were purposely saving his leg.
Mm-hmm.
In kind of expecting what they're going to have to do on Saturday, and that's run the ball. They're going to have to run the ball to win this game. They're going to kind of have to unleash Tank Bigsby. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to 30 carries in this game. But, yeah, with Shivers, he got 2 touchdowns on only 3 carries in that first game. That was great, and it was pretty obvious what they were doing. They were bringing in the freshman, kind of running him a little bit more. But then all of a sudden, Sean Shivers doesn't show up for the last game. I would not expect him to play. He hasn't practiced so far this week. I would not expect him to play Saturday in Happy Valley. That being said, if he's made available, we're assuming it's COVID protocol just because of the nature of it. I know it's not an injury, but again, assuming is one thing, right? You can go ahead and say that and assume that, but obviously it could be anything. You never want to assume any sort of medical stuff, so could be anything. But I'm not sure he's going to be available for Saturday. I think if he's ready on Friday, I think if he's cleared on Friday, he will travel with the team. But we'll see what happens in terms of the carries he gets. But when you get a situation like this, Auburn's done pretty well to kind of remedy it, like you talked about with Jarquez Hunter. These defenses have been, in Akron's case, that was a frustratingly bad defense. I was getting mad just watching the game and how bad they were. But these are two pretty bad defenses. But again, for a freshman to come out like that, they have 257 yards over the course of those 2 games, couple touchdowns, including a 94-yard touchdown run, which is the longest run in Auburn history, which is pretty crazy. And he just looks good. He looks like an SEC running back. We've heard a lot of stuff about him from over the summer, about how strong he is. I know that kind of, the work in the weight room, that kind of translates to explosiveness, but I really didn't expect him to move like he does. And he really moves a lot like Tank Bigsby in terms of him kind of bouncing off guys and gathering momentum after contact at the line of scrimmage. So I'm excited, again, to see what he does against a real defense at Penn State.
I think it's kind of funny and interesting that, Brian Harsin's coached 2 games now for the Auburn Tigers, Akron and Alabama State, but yet it almost feels like he hasn't coached any. Because in the SEC and the way we think, it's all about big games and big-time opponents and everything. With Auburn taking on Penn State Saturday, it almost feels like this is Brian Harsin's first game as an Auburn Tiger coach.
It does, yeah, a little bit. I think that Akron game, everything went pretty perfectly. That game, Akron really only scored, when Auburn started putting their backups in on defense. And then the next game against Alabama State, 62-0 is pretty impressive. Auburn was obviously able to bounce back in the second half. And that was actually the largest margin of victory of Brian Harsin's career
in any game he's ever coached, winning by 62 points. So he certainly enjoyed those first couple games. If there's something I will say about what I've seen from Brian Harsin just off the field, I think this is really an experience that's kind of blown him away. You kind of see it with what he does after the games, going up to the students. And look, I think that's something that might be here to stay. And if it is, that'll be something that we'll look back on as a pretty cool tradition, I think, for an Auburn coach. He goes over to the student section and thanks them for being there the whole game. And look, if you're the Auburn student, it's pretty smart. You're kind of incentivizing them to stay the whole game because they want to, celebrate with the coach after the game. And so this is an environment even against Akron. Akron felt like an SEC environment just because everyone was so excited to be back in the stadium after things were restricted last year. This is something he hasn't really experienced. I mean, Boise State is a great Group of 5 program, but I doubt their home games were anything close to what he sees at Auburn and what he's going to see in the SEC, and certainly what he's going to see at Penn State. But you're exactly right. That this is kind of the official start of the new chapter on Saturday. And man, if Auburn's able to pull off this win, that creates some spectacular momentum for this team, especially when you look at their SEC opener against a team like LSU that doesn't look very good this season. All of a sudden, if you're Auburn, you pull this one off and beat LSU, you're starting the year 5-0, and you're going into a big Georgia matchup at home. That game would be insane if Auburn's able to do that. So certainly a big opportunity for the Tigers on Saturday.
No question. And what have you seen defensively that has impressed you? Certainly the shutout against Alabama State's impressive. The first group dominated Akron. T.D. Moultrie has really flashed early, which is good for the last chapter of his career. Derek Hall, we came in thinking this could be an all-SEC type season for him, but defensively, what have you seen?
Yeah, that's kind of the two biggest storylines for me that I've been tracking through the first 2 weeks. Is obviously Bo Nix, the microscope is going to be on the quarterback and how he's picking up the new offense, especially when you've got a big road spot in week 3. You've got to see how he's preparing for. But the other one is that defense. And I just keep coming back to it. I don't think this Auburn defense is getting talked about enough. Again, we will see how they actually perform against good competition. But at the same time, I don't think there's anybody who thinks Penn State's offense is a killer.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a pair of really talented receivers in Jahan Dotson and Parker Washington you've got to keep bottled up. But their run game has started the year really slow, and Sean Clifford is just kind of your standard quarterback. He's very experienced, and he's got a lot of great physical tools, and he's able to make all the throws, but he's really not somebody that's popped in any one game in his career. But this defense has been really impressive to me. We knew about the 3 linebackers. Chandler Wooten, the 3rd linebacker, we know about Owen Peppo, we know about Jacoby McClain. They'll both be in the NFL next year. We know about them. Chandler Wooten's playing a really fun position called star, where when Auburn goes out of its nickel set, he comes in as kind of a 6th defensive back linebacker hybrid. He's doing a lot of fun things. He's dropping back to play some safety, coming up as a pure pass rusher, sometimes putting his hand in the dirt. So that's a fun position to kind of watch him rove all over the field. But and then we also knew about the secondary. Roger McCreary, Smoke Monday, they'll also be in the NFL this season. So the big question mark to me is this defensive line. And look, they're basically playing 4 defensive ends up there right now, which is kind of what, number one, that's what you can do against the teams they've played. And number 2, that's what Derek Mason kind of wants to do. He's focusing a little bit more on the pass rush element, and he really likes to create havoc plays in the backfield. That's kind of his MO. If they can stop the run against Penn State with these 4 guys, that's Colby Wooden, Marcus Harris, Derek Hall, and T.D. Moultrie is their main group. If they can stop the run with guys, none of those are guys are more than 300 pounds, then Penn State might be in for some trouble, because this is a group that's really been able to get after the passer in 2 games, really been able to affect the opposing backfields. And so this will be a big test for the defense. But so far, the early returns in 2 weeks, I've been thoroughly impressed.
And then you get Derek Mason defense against a James Franklin offense. While their paths one replaced each other there at Vanderbilt, but it'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, and that's something interesting that James Franklin talked about this week. Obviously, he said, he does have a lot of respect for Derek Mason, and, they've got, like you said, they've got a little bit of that connection from the past. But basically, he said he wasn't really putting a ton of stock into those first few games for Auburn. Obviously, they have to review the film, but he said the most difficult part about playing a team like this is going through a coaching staff overhaul is he's not sure what kind of film to watch. He said they're watching Vanderbilt's defense from under Derek Mason. They're watching Mike Bobo's offense at Colorado State. They're watching offenses from Brian Harsin at Boise State, in addition to what they've already seen from Auburn. So, while while I think in sort of a standard sense, we all kind of thought that this might put Auburn at a bit of a disadvantage, kind of having a new staff as opposed to an established one going and playing in such a big game, which I think it does. And I think Penn State, obviously, in terms of the continuity and everything their players know to do, I think Penn State obviously has the leg up here. But that was an interesting tidbit from Franklin that, particularly on defense, going against Derek Mason's defense, he doesn't really know what to look at. He's kind of looking at what he did at Vanderbilt and Stanford and his defenses in the past because, you wonder how much, like you said, how much of what's been put on tape through the first 2 weeks for Auburn really matters right now.
And we're talking to Nathan King, Auburn Undercover, Auburn 24/7. And let's go back to the other side of the ball with Bo Nix. This is certainly a huge game for him, and the perception of how much he's improving, and of course how this new offense is fitting his skills. He's able to check at the line of scrimmage. He's able to go through his progressions and reads. What have you seen out of him and the wide receivers that gives you confidence, and how do you see them matching up with what looks to be the strength of Penn State, and that's their defense?
Yeah, you're exactly right. This is a really nasty defense for Penn State. I thought Bo Nix in that opener looked really, really impressive. Auburn scored 5 straight touchdowns to open the game. They probably could have scored 6 if they hadn't been they definitely would have scored 6 if they weren't working up against the clock before halftime. But again, that's probably the worst defense I've ever seen on a football field in Akron. They were leaving people running wide open, absolutely no discipline. But again, there's something to be said for Bo Nix, setting a completion percentage record in that game, 20 of 22 for 275 and 3 touchdowns. I don't think you do that by accident. You certainly don't set a completion percentage record in every scrimmage during fall camp, and so that was an impressive performance for him. Came out a little bit more sluggish in the second game, and he was not helped by his offense very much. The offensive line struggled a little bit at the start of the game with Alabama State. The receivers dropped 3 passes in the first half alone, 2 of which probably would have gone for touchdowns. And then overall, Bo started that game 3 of 8, and he had a turnover in the first half. He fumbled the ball, giving the ball back to Alabama State before the half, and all that kind of led to Auburn only scoring 1 offensive touchdown in the first half against an FCS defense. So I don't think those struggles, mitigate everything that they did in that first game. All their efficiency in the first game still happened, but it does kind of raise some subtle alarms for you. That this team, is capable of clunking a little bit on offense, and that's not a huge surprise. But, it all goes back to the run game for me. They cannot put all this game on Bo Nix because, like you said, this is a great defense in Penn State that he's going to be asked to go against, with a brand-new receiving core, with an offensive line that is not new, but it is new, in terms of its starting 5 right now and kind of how they're growing along over the course of the season. You've got to get production at St. Bixby in this running game. If Penn State can stop the run, I don't think Bo Nix can win this game with his arm in Happy Valley. Whereas if Tank goes over 100 yards, you take the pressure off, so he's only got to make 20 throws the entire game. I think they've got a pretty good chance to win. That's a big key for me.
Yeah, so ultimately, Auburn, their chances of getting this win are good or fair, do you think, there in Penn State?
Good. I think it's pretty good. I think it's better than it was at the beginning of the season, at least for me. These first 2 games, for the struggles they had against Alabama State, I really wasn't expecting this team. I wasn't expecting them to score 122 combined points in the first 2 games. I'm just being honest. The competition was pretty terrible, but that doesn't happen super often when you're breaking in a new staff. So I do think the offense, and people in the program have said that the offense, I think, is a little bit farther along, and they're executing better than they thought they would. That being said, this is a completely different beast. You guys talked about it before I came on, but I'm not buying in too much to the environment that Penn State has rattling Auburn because, that Bo Nix has been to Death Valley, he's been to Tuscaloosa, he's been to Sanford Stadium, he's been to the Swamp. This might be louder than all those. The loudest stadium I've ever been to is the Swamp in 2019, but this might be louder, but as some Auburn players have told me before, once you lose your hearing and you can't hear, it doesn't matter how much louder it is after that. You can't hear. It doesn't really change anything. I will say, though, that just kind of the home field advantage overall for Penn State, similar to what Jordan Hare does in big games. We've seen Iron Bowls that would not have been close in Tuscaloosa, and Auburn wins them in Jordan Hare, kind of like 2019. I think that would have been the case. I think that home field is worth a few points for Penn State. They're also a team that's looking to prove that, hey, last year was a fluke. They started 0-5 last year with their worst start in program history.
Yep.
And everyone around there thinks that they were nowhere near as bad as that record indicates. So a lot of people kind of have them pegged as a bounce-back team across college football this season. I kind of think they will as well. And so I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe this is a little bit too big of a test too early for Auburn. I do think Auburn has a good chance to win, but I think Penn State might have a pretty good advantage when you look at everything they bring to the table.
Well, Nathan King doing a great job for Auburn 24/7. Great thoughts and insight. And I envy you. It's a road trip. I've never been to Penn State, but it's a tradition-rich place. It should be fun.
Well, don't envy too much. I'm actually not able to get up there, so a little bit sad about that. But things happen. But no, yeah, it should be a wonderful environment for everyone who's able to. And again, if Auburn can pull this one off and get a win like that and silence that crowd, we're talking about some serious momentum moving forward for this team.
Well, no doubt. And, of course, with hopefully COVID will be in the rear view in the very near future, and people can they'll allow more access to these press boxes. But I know Auburn Undercover will be there with great coverage, and you will, of course, be covering them as well and giving your insight and takes. And also, I know you do the daily podcast for Auburn 24/7 as well. We appreciate your time, Nathan. Let everybody know how to connect with you.
Yeah, of course. AuburnUndercover.com is the place you've got to go. Like you said, Jason and Mark will be there in Happy Valley. Providing some in-person insight from the game, and then obviously really excited. The night game, people are going to be anticipating it all day long, so keep it locked at AuburnUndercover.com. We'll have you covered top to bottom.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, Nathan King with us. It is a hard trip in there to Happy Valley.
Yeah, I heard it's hard to get to, yeah.
Well, because when we were there for Iowa way back in the day, we had to fly into Pittsburgh and then drive to Happy Valley because at the time – the whole rumor was Joe Paterno did not want a landing strip there in Happy Valley long enough for the visiting teams to land in. And he wanted it to be uncomfortable and have them drive from the nearest airport to get to Happy Valley, kind of like a little home field advantage. Let's get a break in because when we come back, we will talk Happy Valley. We will talk Penn State. They got great ice cream, by the way, on the campus of Penn State. If you ever get there, they got their own dairy. They have their own dairy.
Well, they do at Mississippi State as well. I enjoyed their ice cream.
Yes, they got great ice cream there in Happy Valley.
We might actually get a credential that game.
We'll talk Penn State football when we come back.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Maybe the air doesn't blow like it should, or it's needing new tires, or you're just ready for something newer. It's time to move up, time to trade up. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your current car or truck is worth more than you know. In fact, we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't trade. We have nearly 100 Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned models to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage, gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with a 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. It's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your vehicle is worth more right now at Woody Anderson Ford. Corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
With the help of Cheerios Oat Crunch Almond, I get everyone's morning started with a smile. It has a delicious and hearty combination of the Cheerios you love, whole grain oats, and sliced almonds for an extra crunchy crunch. That's how I set the rhythm for a great day. Look for Cheerios Oat Crunch Almond in your local grocery store.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Hey, this is Justin with the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. We'd like to invite you to North Alabama's premier patio bar and grill, where at the factory, we have something going on each and every night. Monday night, steak night. Tuesday night, karaoke. Wednesday night, the Jeep community comes out for Jeep Jam. Thursday, it's bike night, the biggest in the valley. Friday and Saturday, live concerts on our 4,000 square foot patio, along with drink specials and a beautiful staff. What are you waiting on? We will see you at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet and Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet and Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet and Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
In today's real estate market, you need the right professionals to help make sure your home purchase is smooth and hassle-free. That's where Jacob Title comes in. Stan McDonald and the staff at Jacob Title cater to the realtor and clients who are looking for a top-flight closing experience. Jacob Title uses the latest and best technologies to ensure a safe and secure exchange of funds, and they pride themselves on great communication well before and during the real estate closing process. Jacob Title in Huntsville and Madison, and online at jacobtitle.com.
He's bald, he's opinionated, and he's here.
You're morally reprehensible, vulgar, insensitive, selfish, stupid. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.
Listen to Feinbaum, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Welcome back to Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And coming up on Saturday, you'll be able to watch Auburn and Penn State, 6:30 on ABC. The first ever non-conference meeting between the two teams. Now, they have met in a bowl game before. The Nittany Lions won the first matchup, which was a 43-14 victory in the Outback Bowl in the 95 season. Then Auburn won a 13-9 matchup in the Capital One Bowl in the 2002 season. Those are the only two matchups between the two teams. This is Auburn's first trip to Happy Valley, hence the first non-conference matchup between the two teams.
Yeah, it's really a cool road trip for Auburn, and I'm really looking forward to this. It's a tradition-rich environment. I really enjoyed it in 2010 and 11 when Alabama and Penn State renewed their rivalry, which was so historic in the days of Coach Bryant, and then into the days of Ray Perkins and then Bill Curry. It was an an every season occurrence there for a while. Joe Paterno had a lot of reverence for Alabama and Coach Bryant, and so that was really neat to see. And again, it's the tradition, it's the uniforms. Now we're going to have a whiteout on Saturday night at 6:30 on ABC. 7:30 Eastern, as Penn State is going to host Auburn. Penn State is off to a very promising start. They got a really good win in week 1 over a very solid Wisconsin team. And it's kind of been therapeutic because they didn't have a good COVID year last year. They did finish rather strong after starting so poorly. But again, they kind of put that year in their rear view, and now they're refocused and trying to contend for a Big Ten title and a potential college football playoff berth. And the good thing about games like this is you get to connect with new guests, and we've got somebody coming on with us now. He's host of Sports Central, weekdays from 4 to 5 Eastern Time on WRTA on the radio dial, and he's the Penn State beat writer for DKPittsburghSports.com, and that's Cory Giger, and he's with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Cory, you're with Drew DeArmond and Scott Theisen in Huntsville, Alabama. I know you've been doing a lot of hits this week. Really appreciate your time. How are you?
I love everything that you guys just said about the build-up of this game. Playing different teams, getting to see different fan bases. You play conference games and you get to see all these teams all the time, and it is so cool to be able to experience something different. I was at Alabama when Penn State went there. Just the incredible hospitality that the Alabama fans showed. Now, I've said this for years, guys. It wasn't Florida coming in there. There was no chance for Penn State to beat Alabama, and I know they lost 24-3. But I know all those Alabama folks were incredibly supportive and friendly to Penn State when we came down there. And then when Alabama returned the trip, it was the same thing. It was, just a tremendous amount of mutual respect.
So how are the Penn State faithful then treating Auburn and looking at this Auburn game coming up there on Saturday?
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of hospitality up here. Again, it's not Ohio State. That's the rival here. People here,
well, yeah.
People here they don't like Ohio State, and sometimes the whiteout games can get a little unruly for Ohio State or Michigan coming in. But I think that the Auburn fans will be treated very well. Penn State fans are really looking forward to this game because this is very, very much a barometer game for Penn State, just like it is for Auburn. Akron and Alabama State, those are not tests. Penn State has beaten Wisconsin already, but people here feel if you can get a win over Auburn as well, now you're talking about being a legitimate college football playoff contender. At least that's the hope anyway.
Well, and Cory, last year Penn State had a lot of expectations. Many thought they either them or Ohio State could end up in that national championship game. Certainly the Buckeyes did. What happened to Penn State last year in that unusual COVID year?
Well, Michael Parsons opted out.
That's true.
So you're talking one of the best defensive players. Their starting running back, Journey Brown, who had a tremendous finish to the 2019 season, he had to medically retire before the season with what turned out to be a heart issue. Then their backup running back, Noah Cain, got hurt on the first series of the season at Indiana. And so they lost. They lose a game at Indiana on a ridiculous 2-point conversion at the end. Michael Penix Jr. from Indiana scored on a 2-point conversion that the refs allowed. I've always thought the ball looked like it was out of bounds. So now you're 0-1. And then they had Ohio State the next week, and now you're 0-2. And so your season's done. All your goals for an 18 to 22-year-old kid, they're done. And I think the confidence spiral there just really was tough. They came out the next week and were probably as flat as I've ever seen any Penn State team play, and they got destroyed by Maryland. Well, Penn State's like 40-3 all time against Maryland, and yet Maryland comes in here and just clobbers them. So it just spiraled out of control last year. That's why the Wisconsin win in the opener this year, going to Madison, winning that game, again, you're talking about confidence. You're talking about getting off to a good start. And that's what this team, again, if they could beat Auburn, the confidence level for this group would skyrocket.
I know this Saturday is all about Auburn. It's Penn State, Auburn. It's Penn State, Auburn. But you would think the headlines this week would be all about that. But instead, we're having to listen to James Franklin going to USC.
Yeah. I would love to talk football. I finally get to write a football story today. I'm going to kind of compare Sean Clifford and Bo Nix and the trajectories of their careers and all that. But the biggest story up here has absolutely been the USC stuff. James Franklin's name has been mentioned in connection with USC for several years. I've followed this for several years. Here's the thing, folks. I think there's only a handful of jobs, 2 or 3 jobs in the entire country that James Franklin would potentially leave Penn State for. And that would be Alabama, Clemson, and probably USC. Well, he's not going to get offered Alabama or Clemson. Maybe if Dabo goes to Alabama, maybe Clemson could look at Franklin at some point, but that's probably way down the road. So, James Franklin has done a lot of really good things. He's had a lot of success here. He's a Pennsylvania guy. Is he going to go anywhere? Well, probably not, unless it's one of those just really, really, really select jobs. And again, to me, it's always been Alabama, Clemson, USC. USC would fit him perfectly. He would be a good fit for USC. And so I do very much think that it's possible. But my goodness, man, I wrote that it's possible, that it would make sense, and Penn State fans just ripped me to shreds because, oh, my God, how could you possibly suggest that our coach would leave? Well, because that's the reality. He could leave. I mean, that's just something that Penn State fans may need to understand and grapple with over the next couple months.
Well, Cory, how big a game is this for Penn State? It was very therapeutic and huge to set the tone to win in Madison. But this is a game that would make some national headlines for Penn State. It looks like a game that's going to be played in the mid to high 20s to me because I think both defenses are really stout. I think Penn State's is outstanding as well. But you kind of preface this with the quarterbacks. Is the key to the game going to be which QB ultimately plays better? Because Bo Nix has been criticized some, but has been a gamer in the past. And then Sean Clifford, they kind of mirror each other a little bit.
Yeah, their careers, they've had success, but inconsistency. The defense is going to be, I've tried to catch a little bit about what Auburn's done against Akron and Alabama State. I don't know what their defense is going to be able to look like consistently. Here's what Penn State's going to do. Penn State, under Mike Yurcich, the new offensive coordinator, they're going to try to take a lot of 40 and 50-yard shots down the field. So, and they'll try to run the ball. We'll see how that works. But this Penn State offense can catch you really at any point. So say Auburn gets 2 or 3 3-and-outs in a row, and then Penn State comes out and hits a 50-yard touchdown pass. Well, that can be the kind of game-changing play from the Penn State perspective. Now, from the other side, I do think Auburn's going to move the ball. Wisconsin moved the ball all day on Penn State, and then they shot themselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
I think Auburn should be able to come in and move the ball. I can see Auburn getting 25 first downs or more, but will they score TDs in the red zone? That's always been for decades really the Penn State style on defense. Bend but don't break. They might let you get to the 20s or the 15-yard line and then hold you to a field. Can Auburn punch it into the end zone? That's going to be the key, because if Auburn goes on a 7-minute drive and settles for a field goal and then Penn State hits a 50-yard touchdown pass, that's kind of been Penn State's formula here for the last few years.
And you got Sean Clifford at under center for Penn State. Decent start for him this year?
Yeah, he's managed well. Last year was a disaster for Sean Clifford. He turned the ball over a lot, bad reads, bad throws. He got benched for a game. This year he's come out. He's been a little more accurate, but he hasn't turned the ball over. He's been a game manager. Now what's going to be interesting when we get into Auburn, Penn State's got Indiana in a couple weeks. Then they go to Iowa and then down to Ohio State later on. Sean Clifford's going to have to win these games. There's a difference between managing the game and completing 59% but hitting 3 or 4 big passes versus now you're going to have to be more solid throughout the entire game. So he just like with Bo Nix.
Yeah, I was going to say they're almost equal.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I can't wait to finally write a dadgum football story here, because we've been writing USC all week. But to me, both of these guys' careers are very, very similar. They don't look great one game, and then you don't know what the heck you're getting the next game.
Well, and I will ask you this, Cory. I think, of course, a big part of it is going to be the success of Tank Bigsby and the young freshman Jarquez Hunter. Both have put up unbelievable numbers. I think Tank is the real deal. I'm anxious to see Hunter against this Penn State defense. Offensively for Penn State, sans Clifford, talk about those weapons and who are the guys that are going to have to make big plays for Penn State to win this game.
They have an outstanding receiver, Jahan Dotson, one of the best in the Big Ten, and some other good secondary receivers. But they're going to look to get Dotson open and free down the field. They've got a lot of good running backs, but they didn't run the ball well at all at Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a tremendous defense, and they held Penn State to 50 yards rushing, and 34 of those came on one carry. So they really made sure to work on the running game last week in a blowout over Ball State. That's going to be the key. Can Penn State run on Auburn? They're going to try. They're going to have to try to sustain drives with the run, because I do think the passing game will work. The passing game will, as long as Clifford is relatively accurate, the passing game will work against Auburn. But they're going to have to be balanced. And on the flip side, I'm looking forward to seeing Tank. Traditionally, it's been very, very, very difficult to run on Penn State consistently well.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a new defensive line. They don't have as much depth on their defensive line. What Penn State's always been able to do is they've rotated 10 guys on the defensive line in and out throughout the game. So in the fourth quarter, you've got a lot of fresh bodies on that defensive line. Well, they don't necessarily have that kind of depth this year. So, guys are going to be counted on to have more snaps on that D-line. And so by the time the third and fourth quarter roll around, I'm really intrigued to see how they hold up from a stamina standpoint.
It is the Big Ten versus the SEC. It is James Franklin, who came from the SEC in the Big Ten, How important is this game? I know James Franklin wants to win the Big Ten. He's got to beat Ohio State. He's got to beat his rivals there in the Big Ten. But how important is this game for James Franklin, being that it is against the SEC?
That's an interesting question in a lot of ways, because I'll just say this. Penn State can lose this game and go to the college football playoff.
Yes.
Okay. They've got a trip to Iowa. I think Iowa's really good. But if they go to Iowa and win, and Penn State's right there in the mix, and then their season will come down to Ohio State in Columbus. And I think Ohio State's got their wake-up call against Georgia. So here's where this is a big, big game for me, guys, and it's what I talked about earlier. It's confidence. I don't think Auburn's great. I think Auburn's good. But if Penn State wins this game, they'll be 3-0 with wins over Wisconsin and Auburn. And the confidence that would come from that after an 0-5 start last year, I think that is just massive for 18 to 22-year-old kids. That's why I started off by saying all of their goals were gone last year after a week, okay? Well, this year, if they can beat Auburn, I think more so than just beating Auburn, which I think might be a top 15, 20 team, you're 3-0 and you feel phenomenal about yourself, okay? So that's where I think this is the biggest factor. Because, again, even if Penn State loses, they could still find a way to go 11-1 and get into a playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great stuff, Cory, and we look forward to seeing hearing your coverage from Happy Valley against the Auburn Tigers. It's going to be the first road trip for them to Penn State, which is one of the most tradition-rich places in all of college football. We're all looking forward to tuning in on ABC to see this contest and see if James Franklin can get a win for the Big Ten over the mighty SEC. Let everybody know how they can connect with you, and we really appreciate your time.
You can check DK Pittsburgh Sports. It's a site here. It covers Pirates, Steelers, Penguins, and Penn State. And then I'm on Twitter at Cory Giger. I just appreciate you guys letting me talk football, because this is really the first time all freaking week I've been able to talk football.
I want to ask an odd question here, because I got to know this. Okay. Do the visiting teams, are they able to fly into Happy Valley still, or do they have to fly in and then be bussed in?
No, they generally can come in here now.
Okay.
That's generally the case. So but it is interesting, because State College, Pennsylvania is a small place and the airport is not big. But this becomes the third largest city in Pennsylvania on Saturday, behind Philly and Pittsburgh. So State College is a town of 40,000 people, but you're going to have 107,000 people at the stadium on Saturday.
Wow, there you go.
Awesome stuff, man. Thank you. We look forward to talking with you down the road. Appreciate the time.
Take care, guys.
All right, that's some good stuff there. Let's get a break, and when we come back, going to wrap up our final segment of Talking Ball on a Thursday.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out, or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Maybe the air doesn't blow like it should, or it's needing new tires, or you're just ready for something newer. It's time to move up, time to trade up. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's the perfect time to trade in and trade up, because your current car or truck is worth more than you know. In fact, we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't trade. We have nearly 100 Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned models to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage, gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with a 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. It's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your vehicle is worth more right now at Woody Anderson Ford. Corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Forgiveness. Wow, what a word. What a gift. All of us have done things in our lives that we regret. All of us have done things that are disobedient. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Thank God for his forgiveness. Thank God that he separates our sins as far as the east is from the west and remembers them no more. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. Check us out at cpcfamily.org.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet and Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet and Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet and Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
We've not had a lot of time over the last few days to update you on the Atlanta Braves, but the Atlanta Braves last night let one get away in 10 innings. They fell to the Colorado Rockies 3-2. The only good news is that the Mets lost and the Marlins won, but who cares about them? The Phillies did win, though, 6-5.
The Cubs gave it away.
Well, they've been giving a lot away this year.
Well, the Cubs are playing better, though, lately. But
well, no, they gave a lot away. Trust me, a lot away in more ways than one this year. But the lead is down to 3.5 games for the Braves in the East.
They did not get it done last night. Bullpen was good. They're not swinging the bats very well up and down the lineup. I think they were 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position last night. Not a recipe for getting a win. They desperately need to win today, which will be an afternoon first pitch, weather permitting. It was a rainy a lot yesterday in Atlanta during the ball game with the Rockies, but they don't need to get swept at home by the Colorado Rockies. They certainly need to find a way to win this game, and Ian Anderson will be taking the bump for Atlanta, and this is a huge game for the Braves to maintain that 3.5 game lead and not give 3 away at home and have a 5-4 homestand if they can get the win.
All right, some nuggets that I found here. Tulane will take on Ole Miss this weekend, 7 o'clock ESPN2. And I don't know if you have paid attention to Tulane out there. I know a lot of people haven't. About the only thing you probably know about Tulane this year is they gave Oklahoma a scare in week 1. But did you know that Tulane is trolling the SEC this year with their football helmets? I shouldn't say trolling the SEC. Tulane, an original member of the Southeastern Conference this year, has put a decal on their helmet that proclaims them, and they did win, SEC champs back in 34, 39, and 49. And they've gone on to say that Tulane has more SEC championships in football than Kentucky or Vanderbilt, and more recent one than Mississippi State. So Tulane having a little bit of fun there. with the SEC.
Yeah, they were a kind of a founding member, and then them and Georgia Tech ruined their lives because they got out of the league.
And Swanee, I believe.
Yeah, but, Swanee never would have stayed in the league. But I'm just saying, could have changed the trajectory of Tulane and certainly Georgia Tech. But, yeah, I mean, they definitely were in the SEC at one time. And Lane Kiffin called them an SEC team, so we'll see how good they are against the Lane train.
Sorry, Jeff. They've got more SEC championships than Kentucky.
Oh, that's awful.
It's awful, but true. And somebody, I saw this on social media the other day, and they asked the question, should we stop considering Dan Mullen an elite college football coach? Because Dan Mullen, 0-10 all-time against Nick Saban. Now, majority of those meetings coming while Dan Mullen was at Mississippi State. Dan Mullen, 1-4 against Kirby Smart while Kirby Smart's been at Georgia. And they asked the question, is it time we can stop considering Dan Mullen an elite college football head coach?
I don't think he's elite. I think he's good, really good. But you're not elite until you win a championship. And very hard to do at Mississippi State. This is not baseball. We understand that. But so far at Florida, he's turned the program around. He did finally beat Kirby last year, and he nearly beat Nick Saban. But he hasn't beaten him yet. And so until you do so, you're not considered an elite head coach. But, of course, you can be a national championship winning head coach and not be elite. Look at Gene Chizik and now the
Ed Orgeron
trajectory that Coach O is on right now at LSU.
So you said, you're not elite until you win a national championship.
Larry Coker won a national championship, okay?
So if Dan Mullen goes out there and loses this game Saturday against Alabama, what does the narrative, or how does the narrative around Dan Mullen still linger? Is it he's an okay coach but can't beat the elite teams, or is he just a average football coach at best?
I still think he's in the good category, which means you're going to win. He can win 10, 11 games. You can contend. You might even get to a conference championship game, but you haven't won a title. And until you do so, you're not going to go from good to elite, or really good to elite and great. I'm sorry. That's where you have to where the rubber has to meet the road. He's now at Florida, which has better resources than Mississippi State in football, better recruiting base. Yet they've still struggled to recruit a little bit. You heard Mark McLeod talking about that because a lot of his coaching staff is still with him, like Hevesy and Billy Gonzalez and those guys from Mississippi State. But again, that'll play itself out over the next few years, but he's making over $7 million a year now. He's being paid like an elite head coach.
Yes.
But he won't be considered one until he wins an SEC title and gets into the college football playoff and has a chance to win a championship.
But they're paying him to win games like Saturday.
Well, yeah, they are. They certainly are.
Those are the games that they're paying him to win.
And that was huge for him to get over the hump last year and beat Georgia, because Georgia had been handing him his lunch, and they beat Georgia and got to Atlanta. And remember, Jim McElwain got there twice before getting fired at Florida. So, and now he's at Central Michigan.
And Dan's gotten there once now with Florida?
Yes,
just one time with Florida.
One time, but
okay.
He's only been there. He's been there, 3 seasons.
Right,
and
right.
They've won double-digit games. He's averaging double-digit wins. So, but the next step is to win an SEC title and get into the playoff.
All right, again, you'll be able to hear that Alabama-Florida game 2:30 right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Good time to download the app as well, so you can stay up to date and stay with us for high school football coming up tomorrow night. Got plenty of high school football. Madison Academy travels to North Jackson on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And then on Zone 2 at Lewis Cruz Stadium, homecoming Crimson Panther football, Huntsville High taking on James Clemens. Y'all couldn't schedule a homecoming game that you could get compete with, huh?
I don't know what the thought process with that is. You're playing a team that's been the best in the region for the past 4
ranked
5
inside
seasons.
the top 10 in Class
Undefeated,
7A.
ranked in the top 10. And of course, this was decided before the year started.
Yes.
But I mean, and Huntsville High, as we've stated, they don't have as many home games this year. The Albertville Aggies game will be in Albertville. They weren't able to play that game last year due to COVID, and because of that, Albertville chose to have the home game this season. So certainly Huntsville lost an opportunity there. But again, it's a very tough opponent. Their only other home game after this week will be at Milton Frank against the Florence Falcons. And I think Wade Waldrop's got a pretty good football team too. So limited opportunities for Huntsville. And a lot of times, folks don't want to have the homecoming at the front end of the schedule.
Right.
This is more toward the bye week. So a very difficult opponent in the top 10 ranked in 7A, unbeaten James Clemens Jets. But a great opportunity. Huntsville let one slip through their fingers and played much better offensively against Bob Jones. Did some great things, but didn't play as well as they would have liked defensively. Now we'll see if they can bounce back. And certainly that Bob Jones team scared the daylights out of James Clemens and nearly beat them in overtime. Probably should have, but did not. So you give the Jets a lot of credit in the tenacity. And now they've won 4 in a row in that series. But going to be a tough opponent for Huntsville High. And you'll hear that, as you said, on Zone 2. Download the app, 97.7 The Zone. Austin Coletti play-by-play, and I'll be on the color.
All right, coming up tonight at 6:30 on ESPNU, Alabama A&M will take on Bethune-Cookman. You can get a chance at the number 1 ranked team in the HBCU, the Alabama A&M Bulldogs, taking on Bethune-Cookman. That is a SWAC contest game. And then you get Ohio and Louisiana tonight on ESPN, 7 o'clock. Billy Napier and company playing host to Ohio.
Watch the sidelines. A couple of Neighbors on the sidelines there. Wesley Neighbors coaching the safeties. Connor Neighbors part of the strength staff there. Under Billy Napier, going to be rooting for the Cajuns tonight.
Tomorrow night you get Gus Malzahn and UCF in Louisville. By the way, that's tomorrow night. We'll talk about all that tomorrow, though, because we got our Friday edition of Talking Ball coming up in less than 24 hours.
Yes, we do. We'll be headed out to Bob Jones shortly to present them the Bryant Bank Team of the Week award. We look forward to everybody at the Czar and Chad Guathy from 10 to noon. We'll have the drive from Baumhauer tonight. I'll be there with Stephen West. We want to thank Cory Giger. We want to thank certainly all of our guests today. They did a great job. Nathan King, Brooks Austin. Have a great rest of your Thursday.
See you guys. Thanks for watching on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook.